guys, so firstly I just want to apologize because last time you guys saw me I was doing daily vlogs for Contemporary-A-Thon and I did days 1 through 6, and then on day 7 I just completely vanished. And I actually got a lot of really sweet messages and DMs from people asking like, what happened? Are you okay? I think people thought that like I died or something really horrible happened because I just completely disappeared on day 7. I'm fine. Thank you for those of you who reached out and checked on me. Basically, I just got really sick, and so my day 7 vlog is kind of nothing and it wasn't interesting enough for me to post it. I have been sick every day since then. Today is the first day I'm actually feeling like a human and not like a goblin monster. So I just decided I would come on here and just kind of wrap up my Contemporary-A-Thon week and not leave you guys hanging. Also, I just want to say thank you because I have never daily vlogged before and I was kind of nervous about it, but so many people were commenting and sending me messages that how much they loved my daily vlogs, and it just like really made me feel good. So I will probably daily vlog more in the future during readathons. I'm thinking about doing it during spookathon, so hopefully this time I managed to make it through the entire week. I'm just going to wrap up everything that I read, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail on the stuff that I read during day 7. So I read 12 things, which is just kind of insane. I read my entire TBR. I completed all the challenges. This was just very successful for me. So the first book I read was Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren, and this completed the challenge of reading a book with orange on the cover. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I really liked it up until the ending. The ending was just something that I wasn't into. I think it's going to be a controversial ending. I think either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it, and I unfortunately fell into the realm of hating the ending. But everything up to that point was amazing. This is basically a friends to lovers romance. Josh and Hazel met in college and she had a really big crush on him. She never really thought she would be his type. And then 10 years later, they cross paths again and they start a friendship, and they decide to set each other up on double blind dates. So they go on all these double dates with each other and they just keep going horribly, and Josh and Hazel end up every night going home together, and it's really cute. I really enjoyed it. I really like Christina Lauren's books from what I've read so far. I've also read Roomies. I really love the romance aspect. They're really good at writing just like romantic tension, but plot-wise there's always something that's a little bit off. Unfortunately, that was the same with this one. The next book I read was Pride by E.B. Du Bois, and this was for the challenge of reading a diverse contemporary, and this is a modern day Pride and Prejudice that takes place in Brooklyn, and it's about 2 black teens. The main character is Afro-Latinx, and she writes slam poetry, and she's really concerned about her neighborhood being gentrified, and then this very wealthy black family moves into the house across the street and she just immediately hates them. I really enjoyed this as a Pride and Prejudice retelling, and I thought this was really good. I think someone is at my front door. I don't want to go over there and see. So the next book that I read was The Opposite of Innocent, and this fulfilled the challenge of reading a dark or taboo book and also reading a book in a different format because this book is told in verse. Basically, this book follows a 14-year-old girl. She's always been really close to her father's best friend, but he went away on like an expedition for 2 years, and at the start of this book he comes back and he moves into their house and she has a crush on him, and they have a very inappropriate, abusive relationship. He's a pedophile and he really takes advantage of her. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I was so close to giving it 5 stars, but I think that the ending was too open. I wanted a little bit more of like a conclusion, but I still thought this book was really great. It was really haunting. I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable because it was just really disturbing. Yeah, it was really disturbing and hard to read at times, but it was great, and I think that telling it in verse kind of added this intimate layer to it of you felt like you were reading this girl's diary. I really loved it. The next book I read was If You Come Softly by Jacqueline Woodson. This one ended up fulfilling the challenge of a 5-star book because I gave this book 5 stars. And this is about 2 teens. One of them is black and the other is Jewish, and they meet and they have a romance, but the Jewish girl is afraid to tell her family that she is dating a black guy. Yeah, there's just a lot of struggles with racism and cultures, but it was so good. And then the ending was so emotional and I wasn't expecting it, and I cried. I really liked it. And I also thought it was really interesting how this book was written 20 years ago and it still feels very relevant, which isn't actually a great thing because you would hope that after 20 years the racism would have gotten better, but it hasn't. The next two things I read were Lumberjanes volumes 1 and 2. I loved these. For some reason in my mind I had always thought that I read Lumberjanes, but then I realized I hadn't. So I pretty much devoured the first 2 volumes. It was so much fun. These are about a group of girls who are at a summer camp and they have to fight monsters, and it's just great. I really enjoyed it. The next book I read was An American Marriage by Tayari Jones, and this was for the challenge of a book with my initials in it. And this was about a newlywed couple who they've only been married for like a year and a half, and then they're at a motel and the husband is like going to get ice and he runs into a woman at the hotel and they kind of have a little conversation and he helps her with something in her room and then he leaves. And the next morning the police bang down the door and arrest him because that woman was raped and she thought that he was the one who raped her. So he's arrested and sentenced to prison for 12 years. And a big chunk of the book is told while he's in prison through letters back and forth between him and his wife, and it's basically showing the derailment of their marriage. It's really hard on both of them, and so she leaves him and starts a relationship with somebody else. And once he gets out, he really wants to get his life back, but everyone else has kind of moved on, and I really loved this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. I think what was so captivating was that every single point of view that you looked at the situation from, whether it was the husband, the wife, the woman who was raped, the man that the wife is now engaged to, when you look at it from everyone's point of view, everyone has been wronged in some way and everyone is also wronging someone else in some way, so that no one is right and no one is really wrong. It's just a terrible situation that happened and there's kind of no good outcome to it. I really enjoyed this book. The next one I read was The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory, and this is the companion to The Wedding Date. And this is about a girl who is at a Dodgers game with her casual boyfriend. They're not in a serious relationship. They've only been dating for like 5 months and she's not super into him. And then all of a sudden on the big screen it says, "Nicole, will you marry me?" And her name isn't even spelled right. And so she rejects him and everyone is booing her and there's a camera crew running over to her. And this guy, Carlos, who was in The Wedding Date, he was the guy's best friend. He swoops in and saves her and they start a relationship and it's so cute. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the main character. I thought she was super independent and she didn't like to be perceived as weak and she didn't like to be told what to do and she really stood up for herself. I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. The only thing I didn't like about it was that the writing was pretty basic and the dialogue was a little bit strange at times. Some of the things that they would say, it just didn't flow. It didn't feel like a natural conversation. So that was the only thing I didn't like. Okay, now we're on to the stuff I read on day 7. So I read Evidence of an Affair. Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called. It's Taylor Jenkins Reid. She put out a novella and it was free on Kindle and I pretty much devoured this. I woke up in the morning, I saw it was free on Kindle, I bought it and I started reading it and I didn't leave my bed until I finished. Granted, it's probably only I don't know exactly how long it is, but it's definitely less than 75 pages, but it destroyed me. I was in bed crying. And basically this book is told through letters back and forth between two people. It's basically this woman who finds out that her husband is having an affair, so she writes a letter to the husband of the woman who her husband is having an affair with, and she's like, "Hey, our spouses are having an affair with each other. I just thought you should know." And so for about a year, they write letters back and forth to each other. They both, through this year, are staying with their spouse and hoping that the affair just kind of goes away. They can't talk about the affair with anyone, so they really lean on each other for support and comfort through this horrible time. It was just so good. It just made me cry, which is a lot considering this is about marital problems, and I have never been married. So for me to feel a lot for some marital problems was just showing how much Taylor Jenkins Reid can really pull at your heartstrings. And also it's so short. Like I said, it's definitely under 75 pages. I think I gave it 4 stars because it wasn't exactly 5, but 4.5. 4.5 sounds good. Then I read Snot Girl volumes 1 and 2, and I actually liked these, which I was looking on Goodreads at the reviews and people do not like this graphic novel series. It does not have good reviews, but I really liked it. It's basically about a bunch of fashion bloggers. They're kind of really insufferable and horrible people, and they don't have good morals whatsoever. And then there's this weird plot with the main character where maybe she murders people. Still not sure yet, but I still enjoyed it. And then the last book I read was called Rafe, Buff Male Nanny by Rebecca Weatherspoon, and I got an arc of this, but it actually came out yesterday. So if you want to read it, it's out now, and I really loved this. It is a romance between a single mother who is like one of the youngest black surgeons. She's a cardiologist and she's 28. She's a single mother to 2 twin daughters, and so at the beginning of the book, her nanny quits, and so she needs a new nanny really quickly, and she gets recommended this guy named Rafe, and so he comes and becomes her new nanny, and they have a relationship. And Rafe is probably one of my favorite male love interests in books. He's like super tall and buff and tattooed and masculine, and like he looks very intimidating, but he's all of that, but without the toxic masculinity. Like, he's such a sweetheart and a cinnamon roll, and he's so good with her daughters, and he takes a lot of pride in his job and what he does. I really, really loved this. And also they communicated with each other. Like, none of their problems had to do with the fact that they weren't communicating, which I loved, because lack of communication really annoys me in romance books. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I'm definitely gonna have to read more by Rebecca Weatherspoon, because I had read a book by her previously. I forget what it was called, but I didn't like it. I think I even DNF'd it. So I kind of like, not written her off, but I kind of wasn't interested in any of her books. I was offered an arc of this one, and it sounded really good, and I'm glad I gave it a chance, because I'm super excited now to read the rest of her books. So that was everything I read during Contemporary-A-Thon. That was a lot. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to everyone who watched all of my daily vlogs. Contemporary-A-Thon was so much fun. I found a lot of new channels during Contemporary-A-Thon that I'm just like obsessed with. And I also got a lot of, I think, new subscribers. If you're a new subscriber, hello, welcome. I hope you stick around. I should warn you though, I don't read contemporary that often. It's mostly fantasy, all up in here. So I hope you stick around. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!